Okay, let's talk a bit about pattern day trading. You are going to have to be aware of pattern day trading, which is abbreviated PDT, rules if you trade in the US because it's going to affect the way that you're going to be able to trade. A pattern day trader is somebody who trades more than 3 day trades in a 5 trading day period. If you do that, you will have to have at least $25,000 in your account. Your broker will let you get away with having less once or twice, but if you keep doing it, your broker will lock your account until you bring your account up to $25,000. You really need more like $30,000 or so because you can't go below $25,000 at any time. Since we're talking about how to trade with small accounts, most of you are not going to be able to have that amount of money in your account, so you're not going to be able to pattern day trade. There are a few ways to get around that. One way is to have a cash account and to trade options. You can also trade futures, but we're not really talking about futures here. Each type of future has a margin requirement, and most of the futures margin requirements are a lot less than $25,000. But let's talk about US equities, stocks, now. If you have a cash account and you trade options, then whatever amount you have in the beginning of the day is available for you to trade on that day. With options, you have to pay in full for the options that you buy. There's no margining of options capital. For instance, if you're buying an option contract that's quoted at $1, you would have to pay $100 because each option contract represents 100 shares. If you bought 100 shares of stock that cost $1 per share in a margin account and you were only trading it during the day, which means closing it out before the market close, you would normally only have to put up about 25% or $25. That's one of the reasons people like margin accounts. But the problem with a margin account is that if you are a pattern day trader and you have less than $25,000 in your account and you day trade, your broker is obligated to lock your account for a certain amount of time. While your account is locked, you won't be able to trade. If you have a cash account, you can day trade stocks, but the problem is that the settlement of stock transactions doesn't complete for a couple of days. Option transactions settle in one day, so anything you close out the previous day should be available for you to trade with next morning. That way you can effectively day trade in a cash account with options up to the amount that you have available in the morning. As an example, suppose you have $2,000 in your cash account and you buy $2,000 worth of stock and close the trade out before the market close. That's fine, and you won't run afoul of any PDT rules, but the cash won't be available to you until the second day after you closed out the trade. If you have $2,000 in your account and you buy $2,000 worth of options and close everything out before the market close, whatever you ended up with at the end of the day would be available for you to trade with the next morning. A couple of things to take into account is that with a margin account, you can often get 4-to-1 margin on stock trades that are closed out the same day, whereas with options, you only get about 1-to-1. But since options are often highly leveraged, you frequently will be getting more leverage even though your margin is 4 times the amount. To clarify how this works, suppose you had $2,000 in your cash account and you were trading options. You could buy 500 worth of options 4 times in one day and then close them out at the end of the day, and whatever went back into your account would be available for you to trade with the next day. If you made 500 on your trades, you would have 2,500 to start with the next day. If you lost 500, you would have 1,500 available to start with the next day. If you bought 500 worth of options and then bought another 500 worth of options and then sold the first 500 worth of options and then you bought 1,000 worth of options, you would not be able to buy any more options that day because you had already used all of your available cash. Even though you closed out the first trade, it won't settle until the next day, so that cash is no longer available to you until it settles. With a margin account which maintains over 25,000 at all times, you can trade in and out and the trades settle immediately, so you can use the entire 25,000 over and over again right after closing the trades, and perhaps even be trading up to 100,000 worth of stock before being fully leveraged. You could do the same thing with options in a margin account, but only up to the amount in the account, as you have to pay for options contracts in cash. So if you have plenty of money, a margin account might be best for you, but if you have a small account, making it a cash account and trading options or futures will allow you to day trade. One last thing to mention is that in a margin account, if you swing or long-term trade stocks, you can often get 2-to-1 margin on your trades, whereas in a cash account, it will only be 1-to-1 margin. So if you're not intending to trade more than once every 2 or 3 days, a margin account could be a better choice for you. Okay, we'll cover more stuff in other lessons.